All right, 1 o'clock now here on the KFYR Plus News Desk, and we're joined by Jody Neal, a survivor and former prosecutor who spent 2 decades handling crimes against children. She now speaks nationally about disclosure, institutional failure, and accountability. We'll explore the fallout from the newly released Epstein Files and what they reveal about systemic breakdowns. Jody, thank you for joining me today. I sure appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
So, from your perspective, Jody, what does the public reaction to the Epstein files now reveal about our cultural understanding of power, secrecy, and abuse?
I believe that we are seeing a rightful outrage. These sorts of crimes are not only swept under the rug, but we isolate ourselves from the reality that they happen all over the place.
Mhm.
People we know. And we are coming to grips with a reckoning, and that is that our children are not safe. Our governments are ill equipped to handle these cases, and we need to really look at ourselves in the mirror.
Um, from your perspective, how do powerful predators cultivate networks that protect them?
Well, a little money here and there goes a long way. People want to
Mhm.
keep their jobs. And if you read Virginia Giuffre's book, Nobody's Girl, she describes a lot of links in the chain that were really just sort of employees that went to work and had good jobs and good lifestyles. And they really looked the other way when they had every reason to believe that there was child abuse underway.
And why do you think that high profile associations, even without allegations of criminal behavior, carry such significant consequences?
Well, I mean, I think we've got a global conscience that says that
Mhm.
this is not permissible. We have a line that we've drawn that needs to be made a bit more clear that says where it comes to children, you are not allowed to do certain things.
You often speak about why disclosure is incredibly difficult for survivors. How does this case exemplify those barriers?
What a great question. What we're seeing in the files is some of it is not really corroborated yet by the person who lived the experience. I
Mhm.
could absolutely envision a situation where a survivor will say, "Oh, that was me. That was on that page of these files. That was me, and I'm finally ready to talk about it." What happens to survivors is they become frozen. They are just surviving from day to day because we know from trauma research and from studies now that a person that has survived a crime that's taken place on their body really can't say the truth about what's happened to them until they've really done some work. It takes effort to say it. And until you're at that place where you're ready to say the truth to yourself first, and then to a credible witness, someone who's actually willing to hold space for you, you're not going to be able to just come forward. I mean, it really is an internal struggle to get to that place.
Jody, we hear a lot of talking heads on TV and other places, social media, talking. Why don't the victims just come forward and tell us the names of who abused them?
That goes exactly to your last question, which is that my belief is that there are more victims out there who are probably very deeply conflicted one right now. They're probably surviving, getting through the day, tried to move on with their life to the best of their ability, but they are troubled by the truth about what's happened to them. And they
Mhm.
know that they want to come forward and say something, but is that going to make things worse for them? Is it going to make their life even harder? So I would expect that there could easily be some disclosures that would be very hard for the victims.
And not to mention, Jody, I'm sure where you're going to have that blowback from there, unfortunately, are supporters of some people that are going to say, "Oh, she's telling lies." We don't believe her. There's always been that, hasn't there, from sexual assault survivors?
There has. It's a tough road. I never went that road myself because I knew how tough it was. I just wrote a book about it 20 years later. But
Yeah.
yeah, you know, it, we live very much in a attack the victim reality. And it's very understandable for a survivor to not want to put themselves through that. Though I do believe the consciousness is shifting to where the rest of us are understanding that it's not fair to treat people like that.
Not all sexual assault victims are in such a high-profile scandal such as this, but how does this high-profile scandal shape the willingness of survivors, especially the children, come forward?
This sort of content that is, I mean, you cannot escape mention of the Epstein Files.
Hmm.
This sort of
Hmm.
content is going to permeate every news cycle, every social media channel. And if you have survived a crime that's taken place on your body, you're going to feel upset. You're going to feel like you have something inside of you that needs to be released in order for you to have peace. And everywhere, all day, we know from the CDC that at least 45% of adult women have survived contact sexual violence in their lifetime. That's the newest CDC figure. Every one of those women, if they have not told the truth about what's happened to them, is going to feel that tension. And 1 in 6 men, too.
Jody, let's put your prosecutor hat on. Based on your experience, where do you see the most significant systemic failures in cases like this?
I would say at this point, with the corporate fallout that's happening, I would say it's the businesses that look the other way. You look at the
Hmm.
Epstein case, it took a lot of moving pieces. There were hotels, there were airports, there were, customs, immigration. And for all of these different systems to look the other way, is really troubling. But I believe most troubling would be the prosecutors who put together that report, and the DOJ did not prosecute the case. I mean, it is a systemic failure on the criminal side. And thankfully for the civil side, we have the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. We have, records like are coming out in the Epstein files. But I have to say, I think the criminal system dropped the ball worst of all.
We're seeing in England people losing titles, as in Prince Andrew losing his official title. We're seeing other people losing their jobs. Um, can can you access some of the records that are in the Epstein files unredacted if England were to take some of these people to court and prosecute them?
I would be welcoming of that, but it seems unlikely. I've definitely seen that on social media calling for
Yeah.
England to release their Epstein files and just let us go through them. So I think that would be a great way to do some quality control on the DOJ.
Yeah, I think so too. The public often conflates association with guilt, Jody. How can the public reasonably interpret now these type of large document dumps without jumping to conclusions?
That's a great, Whoopi Goldberg, apparently, her name came up in one of these documents, and she was saying,
Hmm.
"Hey, all I needed was an airplane. I didn't know the guy. I wasn't his friend." So we do have to put on, our critical thinking hats and look at what the evidence actually is, which is why it's so important that we have an accurate release of information here from the DOJ.
It seems as though these files are being used as a weapon between the left and the right in this country. Do you feel that as well?
This is the most nonpartisan issue that there ever could be. This is humanity protecting its young.
Hmm.
And I am seeing the weaponization from the right and the left. And what I can say from what I've seen in these files is that, you know, Democrat law firm,
Hmm.
Republican Secretary of Treasury, it does not matter because wealth does not care about party lines necessarily. And secrecy of this magnitude certainly doesn't care. And we really need to be careful not to bring party into this because what is at stake is far more important than what color someone prefers.
Yeah. As someone who understands grooming patterns, Jody, what should people keep in mind when they see names or associations being discussed?
Well, you can't make any assumptions about anybody. The pastor of your
Mhm.
church might be great. Well, pay attention to what he's doing. You might like somebody and they're going to be a particular way with you and be different with the person that they're trying to groom. And the most important thing would be when a child makes an outcry, listen to the child and behave as the law requires. And in most states, you are required to report what a child tells you about what they're experiencing. You don't have the right to decide whether you think it's true based on whether or not you like the bad guy.
After everything that we've learned from this case and others like it, what gives you hope that institutions and individuals can do better at protecting children and supporting survivors in the years ahead?
I actually have a lot of hope, even though it seems like we're in a real funky situation right now. And the reason why is because survivors have never had the opportunity to communicate with each other in real time, especially as they're, growing older, heading into our
Hmm.
40s, 50s, 60s. We're able to communicate like never before. And that means we're able to connect dots. We're able to find patterns. We're able to find each other. And there's always strength in numbers. And the more a survivor can appreciate how not alone you are, especially not with data that we've never had before, confirming that this is not someone else's problem. This is literally the woman who's the cashier at the grocery store, or the woman, sitting down for this meeting with me. We're all so affected by this. I think there's so much space for us to heal.
Before we wrap up, Jody, tell us about your book, Outcry Witness, please.
Thank you so much for asking. Outcry Witness is a former prosecutor's guide to healing injustice after sexual violence. And this is actually my outcry as a survivor. I never told anyone until I kind of pitched the idea to my publisher, the first publisher I ever contacted, and they picked up the project and got me through the process of writing this book along with my collaborator. This book takes a survivor, someone who's had a crime happen to them on their body, and gets them out of that state of being frozen. It is a step by step, very manageable 200-page guide. You can slip it in your purse or your jacket at the airport to get you to a place where you actually can come forward and say that you're a survivor of Jeffrey Epstein's criminal conspiracy.
Hmm.
It gets you out of being frozen.
Uh, as you mentioned, I think it took you about 20 years to, get this done.
Yeah.
What was it like when you were working on it? And then tell me, Jody, about what it was like once you put the final period on the last sentence of wrapping it up, writing it.
Oh, what a great question. It is really a testament to the power of the truth and the process of disclosure. Writing the book was absolute agony. It is, every survivor has information that they've lived in the past that still haunts them, but they've put it in a filing cabinet in the back of their head and they've locked the drawer.
Mhm.
But you're still haunted by your behaviors, your conduct, the substances you might engage in. And actually saying what happened to you to someone who's able to just listen and appreciate and validate you is the most freeing experience. It is a before and after story that I want to shout from the rooftops.
Fantastic. The book again, Outcry Witness. Is it out now, Jody?
It's available for pre-order and it will ship on April the 7th.
Perfect. Jody Neal, child abuse expert and survivor, thank you so much for your insight and helping us better understand a little bit of this. This is a wild time to be alive, Jody, I got to tell you.
It sure is. I say that. I have a pillow that says that. What a time to be alive. Thanks
Thank
so
you,
much for
Jody.
having me.
You
Yep.
bet now. Bye
I'm
bye. All right, 14 minutes past the hour. We'll take a break. We're right back here with more news next.